All right, so it's getting a little cold out. I even had to put my jacket on. And you know, that makes me think about fall weed control, that everybody says, oh, fall is the best time to kill weeds in your lawn. But here's the thing, we want you out there probably a week or two before your first hard killing frost if you're gonna do a great job to have a nice clean lawn going into next spring.
All right, there's a few things to think about here. First of all, you've got trees, you've got bushes, you've got flowers. All those we want to try and be as cautious around as possible with anything that we're spraying in the lawn. But the other thing is just this. Once we get that cooler weather, we start to see that flush of weeds come back. If you had a hot, dry summer, chances are some of those things kind of went away for a little while. Well, now they're back and they're worse than ever. Here's your shot to control weeds, not only for now, but also for next spring. If we can wipe those weeds out, next spring could start off with just beautiful grass in your lawn. And wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, is a lot of people say, well, I'm just not gonna spray because winter's gonna be here shortly and then that'll take care of it and I'll just wait to spray until spring. No, what we want you to do is spray in the fall and in the spring. That's where you get the best control. We especially see it with weeds like dandelions. If you spray in the fall and then you hit it again in the spring, you've just about wiped out your dandelion issue.
Well, I think about a lot of the weeds that we're talking about here when we think about clovers and dandelions, those types of weeds. If you can hit them really hard in the fall, now when winter comes around, even if you didn't completely kill the weed, their chances of surviving through the winter are about zero. And if you can hit them really good, get the grass to fill back in this fall, that's even better yet. Now next spring you've got a thick lawn that's going to choke out weeds. And when we talk about weed control, most people think, okay, that involves spraying a herbicide. That's part of the equation. The other side is fertility. We've got to have good fertility out in our lawns so that grass can grow thick enough to try and choke out those weeds too.
So on the fertility side, what we suggest you do is pull some soil samples from your lawn. Now I realize you may say, well, I thought that was just for farmers and doing that on their production acres. No, you can do that in your lawn as well. You want to pull a 4-inch core, if not a 6-inch core, but the point is you've got to pull some soil out, and what we want to have is about the same amount of soil at 1 inch as 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inch. And the reason why we want that is because if, let's say, you just skim some dirt off the top, all that's going to tell you is what your 0 to 1 inch soil looks like. We want to know what's going on down a little bit deeper. So for farmers, we always say 0 to 6 inch. For someone with a lawn, I don't have a big problem if you want to just pull a 4-inch core, but really we prefer to pull a 6-inch soil core. Once you get that result back, then you can see, hey, how am I doing on phosphorus or potassium or micronutrients, and get that fertility program in line.
The other side of weed control in your lawn is just how high are you cutting that lawn? Are you cutting it really short and close to the ground because you don't want to have to be out there that often? Or are you leaving it a little bit taller? By leaving that lawn just a little bit taller, all of a sudden we've got that much more canopy and less sunlight has potential to hit the ground, and we've got less of a chance for weeds to come up.
Okay, let's talk about herbicide selection. A lot of people are wondering, well, should I have this combination or that combination, or what should I go by? My suggestion is just use straight 2,4-D. Personally, I prefer to use LV6, but a lot of people will use AMI.
I use AMI.
I don't care which one you want to use. Just use straight 2,4-D that you're going to buy from a herbicide dealer, not from a lawn and garden store, because usually what you're going to find in a lot of these retail centers is watered down product. We want the good stuff. It's way less expensive, and then you can have a good strong dose, because that's really what we're after. We want you to use the highest labeled rate in your lawn. And in terms of mixing it up, that's one of the big questions that we get all the time. How much do you throw in per gallon of water? Well, it just depends on how fast you're going to walk, and it's kind of the trial and error method. So unless you're turning the grass completely brown, you need to continue bumping that rate probably a little bit. You want just a little bit of brown on your grass, and that shows you, ooh, I'm just at about the rate where it's going to start hurting the grass, but now I've got a tremendous amount that's actually getting on in there and killing the weeds.
There's some pretty good guidelines on the labels, and what some people will do too is say, all right, I have this many square feet, this is how much product I can use, and they'll mix up a big batch and they'll just keep spraying until it's gone. You don't want to get carried away here on the rate, and you don't want to be too light either. The other thing I was going to say is, here we are. We're in the fall. Trees are dropping their leaves. Flowers are done for the year. This is your shot. This is your best shot. In the spring, it's tough to get that timing right because sometimes it's really cold and it seems like it's winter, and then boom, it's summer. And when that happens, all of a sudden all the flowers are coming back, the trees are coming back, and it's tough to really take a good shot at those weeds because you're worried. So here's your shot, get after the weeds this fall.
All right, so our suggestion again is do some soil testing, properly fertilize, and use a good strong rate of 2,4-D, the maximum labeled dose.
That may not be much different advice than you'll hear for our weed of the week. We'll talk about this tough weed coming up later in the show.